We're here with the 2024 Honda Prologue, and this will be Honda's first mass market, readily available across the country electric car, at least in the US. And as you may have already read on Autoblog, it's based mainly on the Chevy Blazer. However, as you can see, the styling is pretty much all Honda on the outside, and also the suspension tuning has all been tweaked by Honda. And the design of it is very different than the Blazer that it's based on. It's very clean and smooth, simple lines. It's quite uncluttered compared with the Chevy. The long nose and kind of cab rear design of the Prologue give it a bit of a rear-wheel drive look. And that long nose is perched over the largest wheels that Honda has fitted to a production vehicle. These are the 21-inch wheels that are available on the Elite trim. And while detailed, they are also fairly simple, and it goes along with the clean lines of the Prologue. Moving back, we get more of a sense of the size of the Prologue. It's about 8 inches longer and 5 inches wider than a CR-V, and has a fairly long wheelbase of a little more than 121 inches. That gives lots of space in the middle for people as well as cargo. Of course, the whole thing is also fairly low, which gives it a very wide and kind of sporty looking stance. Coming around the back, we find very short overhangs, something that's fairly typical of a lot of electric vehicles. And the back of the Prologue is fairly conventional looking, but what is interesting is this taillight array here. And this center black panel features, instead of the Honda H badge, Honda spelled out in a unique font. This will be the treatment found on all future Honda electric vehicles, including ones that are 100% developed by Honda. And that pretty much wraps up the exterior of the Prologue. We also particularly like the North Shore Pearl paint color on this top spec Elite trim. Now, while we're back here, we'll go ahead and take a look at the cargo area. And popping open the hatch, you'll find about 25 cubic feet of space in this rear area, as well as just under a cubic foot of space underneath the mat. And folding down the rear seats, you'll get a little bit more than 57 cubic feet of space in total. This is the Prologue's interior, and as you can see, design-wise, it's again much more Honda than it is GM. You can tell that from, particularly in the dashboard design, you've got the full width air vent style, and it brings the whole dash fairly low, and then on top of that, you've got your screens for instruments and infotainment. The instrument screen is 11 inches and the infotainment screen is 11.3 inches. And this is important to note because this is based on the Chevy Blazer, which will not get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The Honda Prologue will get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and it will be wireless. There are some hints of GM in here, and you can kind of see that in some of the control knobs and steering wheel buttons, but that's not a bad thing because they are nice buttons. And in fact, we very much appreciate that it does have buttons for your climate control and for your temperature and even the volume knob. Now you may notice that the instrument panel and the infotainment system look a little weird in this, and that's because this particular car is a very early pre-production prototype. So these are non-functional. And instead, there's just kind of a printed screen here to illustrate what it's going to look like. Of course, the real thing will be much brighter and interactive and do much more. The Prologue does use a column-mounted shifter, and that frees up a lot of space here in the center console for setting a phone or other things. You've got large cup holders and a very deep center console storage area. This Elite version comes with a huge panoramic moonroof, and it does indeed open, which is nice, since many modern electric cars, even modern gasoline-powered cars, just have a fixed glass roof, one that doesn't open. And in general, the interior feels quite spacious, and the seats maybe feel a little bit flat, but are generally quite comfortable. And the seating position actually feels a bit lower than you would expect from a lot of SUVs, which, if you're a fan of more car-like vehicles, is a nice thing. I personally am one of those people, so I do appreciate it. Now, while the Chevy Blazer that the Honda Prologue is based on will have front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and rear-wheel drive combinations, the Prologue only gets front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versions. The front-wheel drive version is single motor, and all-wheel drive is dual motor. One motor up front, one motor in the back. Output for that dual motor setup is 288 horsepower and 333 pound-feet of torque. The single motor has not had output rated for it yet. Regardless of what motor combination you get an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, and Honda is targeting about 300 miles of range in the most efficient spec of that, which will probably be the single motor front wheel drive version. DC fast charging will be available for it, and it will have a maximum charging speed of 155 kilowatts. Now also, while this is related to the Chevy Blazer, it will not be available with Super Cruise. That will continue to be a General Motors exclusive. The Honda Prologue is expected to go on sale early next year, and will have a starting price in the upper $40,000 range. Final pricing hasn't been announced yet, so stay tuned for that closer to the on-sale date.